Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review for The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 14. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but um, yeah, basically, the reason why I kind of held off was because I just had a busy week last week, so um, I plan on doing some more this week since my schedule is going to be a little bit more flexible. And my goal is to finish season 6 today and then start season 7. And I don't know if I'll finish it this week, but definitely get decently far into it this week. So that's at least my goal. Let's see if I can meet that goal. So this episode is called Twice as Far, and this episode originally aired on March 20th, 2016. That sounds like it was about right. Um, and yeah, it's basically all I have to say about it. Nearly no other history I'm gonna really break down. So yeah, I'm gonna start talking about the episode itself. Um, going basically though, I'll just say about this episode. If you want to know like my thoughts on it at the moment, it's basically this is I did predict in one of the reviews of this season when it got towards the end that there was going to be a filler episode. Whether that was since it was coming to be the last few, I expected 15 and 16 to be really good, and then either 13 or 14 was going to be the filler episode. Well, it wasn't the last episode, but it was definitely this one. Um, I would say this was mainly a filler episode. I think the episode, definitely started to get good toward towards the last 15 minutes. Mainly the last 15 minutes is really all you needed to see. You didn't really need to watch the first these things are like about 40 minutes, so you really didn't need to watch the first, I would say, half of it. Um, well, I guess yeah, I guess that would qualify. But yeah, let me start talking about this episode. So basically, I usually typically do the up down method, but because there was really only two stories going on, I'll just kind of break it down like a normal review, how I normally do it. Um, This episode starts off though, kind of showing a montage about how everyone's been adjusting after um the attack they did on Negan's group and completely killing them off. So we think so, because obviously don't think Negan's been killed off, but that's a different. That's will be talked about later on. And it shows montages of one of the characters collecting food. Um, Eugene finally learning how to defend himself. Gabriel walking around with a gun like he is a badass. Morgan has built a prison cell just like in episode 4 this season when he was locked up in there, which it looks like the exact same one, which I thought was kind of cool. And Rick comes up and asks him why he built this, and Morgan said, "It gives you a chance to make a choice next time." And that was basically the only thing you saw. They didn't really do anything to further that, and that maybe will get it down just because I understand they'll probably build into it, but really it was just so subtle in this episode that it really wasn't needed, and it was just an unnecessary scene. Um, and then we see things like Rosita has been sleeping with Spencer, which kind of ties into the episode a little bit because it just was very out of the ordinary and stuff like that. And then and then Carol goes to talk to Dale, and they kind of have a conversation about basically kind of like who they've become as people. Carol was talking about the um, Dale about the saviors that he ran into in the woods and that he saved, and Dale said that he should have killed him, and then Carol said, "Well, you didn't, and that's who we are." And Dale said, and then Dale asked Carol what the people that kidnapped them do to her and Maggie, and Carol said they didn't do anything to us. And I kind of like the way she said it because obviously we know that's actually what happened. They really didn't do anything with them. Carol and Maggie destroyed them basically, so I liked that. Then yeah, so I like that. So I liked and then it cuts basically to the theme song. It didn't really go into any other detail about the episode. Overall, I liked the opening of the episode. It was a nice way to kind of start off the show, and it was a nice way to kind of build till like the ending of the episode. So then I'm just gonna kind of yeah, like I said before, if there's ever more than one storyline in this episode, I'll kind of break it down all at once, and then obviously these two stories do kind of mix together eventually. So I'll kind of talk about them separately first, and then when they start to come together, I'll kind of break it down all as one. I'm gonna first start off with this storyline they did with Eugene and Abraham in this episode, because it was kind of like a minor storyline, and it wasn't shown as much in this episode until as much as the other storyline was. So I mean, they were both shown about the same, but um so basically Eugene and Abraham leave. We don't really know where they go in the beginning of the episode, and Eugene talks about kind of his background and stuff, and Abraham notices that Eugene kind of has changed since season 4 of this episode, or season 5, maybe both. I forget exactly when he came into the picture. And Abraham says he's trying to make changes and adapt to this world, and Eugene says, well, at least you're trying to. And basically Eugene says that he basically says it in like a more smart, complicated way, but basically he said he's trying to adapt to his environment. Because this is a zombie apocalypse world, and he's trying to adapt himself to learn how to defend himself in the zombie apocalypse. And he says that he's taken different stages, and his goal is to get to stage 2. And Abraham doesn't believe in any of this, because obviously he doesn't have very high hopes for Eugene, because as we've watched Eugene throughout the series, he hasn't been very good at defending himself. I like this, and then obviously it was a nice way to kind of get into the character of Eugene, and I think he's a likable character, so I liked it. And then Eugene and Abraham go to this manufacturing industrial place, and Eugene comes up with this idea that obviously they're going to run out of bullets eventually in case they need a defense or attack, or just bullets aren't really going to get manufactured anymore. So Eugene has the idea to manufacture their own bullets, basically make them from scratch. And he kind of goes through the whole process about how he's going to do it. And Abraham likes the idea. He says, you know what, that's some good outside the box thinking. And Abraham says that this is the type of stuff that Eugene is good at. And then a zombie starts to come over, or a walker in this case, because they don't actually call them zombies in the show, but still, I'm calling them, just call them whatever you want to call them. And Eugene calls dibs on it, so he tries to kill it, but he's unable to do so because he's still kind of new to learn how to defend himself. So eventually Abraham kills him for him, and Eugene gets upset about this, and Abraham basically tells Eugene that that Eugene should just stick to more of the outside the box planning type of thinking, and you leave the killing zombies to me. And then Eugene gets offended that Abraham says that, and he tells Abraham that his services are no longer required. I needed you for protection, but now I don't need you anymore. So he tells him that he doesn't need him for protection anymore. So Abraham gets pissed about this, and he basically leaves Eugene by him. Well, no, he doesn't basically do it. He actually does. He leaves Eugene to find his own way home. I like this scene. Obviously, I think Abraham and Eugene play off really well with each other as characters, obviously because of everything that happened in season 4 and in season 5. And I enjoyed this. And, I like that they kind of got into the background of Eugene, of him trying to actually defend himself. So this was actually some good stuff. And then we get to like the main part of the storyline, where Denise wants to go out and she's found this store that carries a bunch of drugs that can help the patients in Alexandria, and she wants Rosita and Dale to go out with her to get them. And Dale and Rosita don't think that Denise is ready to go out there by herself, since she hasn't just started to learn how to defend herself. But she said that if she goes out there, she can identify these drugs. That way they don't have to go back out there a second time. So eventually they agree to let Denise go out there with them. So they drive the big U-Haul truck, and Dale doesn't really know how to drive this thing, so Denise is trying to teach him, and Dale just isn't having any of it. And then they can't get past a tree that's been tipped over right on somebody, and they died, so they turned into a zombie, and Rosita kills him and steals his beer. And I kind of like this because Rosita and Denise were kind of trying to tell Dale other ways to survive, and Dale just wasn't having any of it, so I like that part of the episode. So they walk the tracks, and Dale doesn't want to walk the track. He takes the road, and Denise chooses to go with Dale over Rosita, which I think was supposed to be symbolic because, Rosita, no one really picks her. So when they finally meet up again, Denise apologizes for going with Dale. She just said that I just didn't want him out there by himself on the road, and she tries to get into the side of the mind of Rosita, ask her who taught her how to fight, and Rosita says, people taught me a lot of things, and they're just going to end up being another name. So she's not really being very descriptive. And then they break into the store. I can't really say they broke in, but because basically nobody owns the store anymore because it's a zombie world. But they do break into it. They use a crowbar to get in. And they break into the pharmacy, and they just take all the drugs. And they hear one of the zombies, and Denise goes in there to see what it is. This is a zombie that's just been absolutely injured. His leg's in a cast, and his mouth is ripped off. And Denise, I think, gets a little bit petrified because she's never been outside the walkers or outside to see any of this walker stuff, really. So, yeah, she leaves, and Rosita and Dale tell her that we told you we weren't ready to come out here. And Denise realizes they were right. She even takes one of those like flashlight keychains that says Dennis on it. And we found out that I guess they were that she had a twin named Dennis, and he wasn't really afraid of everything, which remind Dale of his brother, which we know Dale's brother. And he talked about that Dennis wasn't really afraid of anything. He had no fear, and he was always frustrated all the time. Then Dale finally decides to take the train tracks, which was supposed to be symbolic that he was actually going to listen to them. And ironically enough, Dale was right all along not to take the train tracks, because had they not taken the train tracks this time, this next scene probably wouldn't have happened. So let me say what the next scene was, so that way I can say what would not have happened. So Denise finds this car that had a cooler in it, and she wants to see what's in it and go inside and get it. And Dale and Rosita don't think it's worth it because there's a zombie in there, and you really typically wouldn't want to go in there. It's just not worth killing yourself over. But Denise doesn't listen. She goes in there anyways. The zombie is almost about to kill her. Dale and Rosita try to stop her, but Denise wants to do this on her own, so she kills it. And Denise and Rosita are like, "Did you really do all this for sodas?" And Denise says, "No, I only did it for one soda." And she goes off on Dale and Rosita, talking about how she is sick of having fear ruin her life. That's why, it's ruined her life to become a doctor. It's ruined her life to, become, to tell her girlfriend that she loves her. And she asked Dale and Rosita to go with her because they were going to help protect her. And she even calls out Rosita, saying that she's finally alone, and she's never been alone her entire life, because obviously we've seen throughout the show that she's been with Abraham, or now she's sleeping with Spencer, so she's just a little bit afraid to be alone. But she looks at her inspiration because she's stronger than Rosita thinks she is. So I like, and she also goes off on Dale because he has no fear, but he doesn't really show any human compassion. And I like this scene a lot. It was a nice way to kind of get into the character of Denise. And then as she's doing like this big speech, she's even talking about how she's not going to let fear run her life anymore. And then she gets a bow and arrow right through the eye and basically dies. And I liked too how she was still like in mid-sentence talking and then just died. Like her brain didn't process that she was dead. I thought that was great. And we see that Dwight, who kidnapped Arrow in episode 6, I believe, in this season in this show, and he's with a ton of people, and he has Eugene all tied up, and basically he threatens Daryl and Rosita to take them to Alexandria and let them take whatever they want and who they want, and if they don't, they're gonna murder all 3 of them. And Dale even said that he should have killed him. And Dwight says, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you should have killed me because then you wouldn't be dealing with this right now. So basically, Dale blames himself for it. And Abraham was hiding behind the barrels, and Eugene gives away his hiding spot. And which we were supposed to have been like, when I first watched this, because I watched this twice, I was like, oh, Eugene, why would you do that? That was dumb. But, everybody goes and investigates the barrels, so this gives Eugene a chance to bite Dwight, and I'm not kidding, right in the dick. He almost probably bit his dick off. I thought that was great. And everybody gets into a shootout. A few people get killed. Zombies get killed. But Dwight and everybody, all the surviving people, I think those are the saviors, escape. And Dale's upset about this. And they played this song called Chapel by Nicole Dahl-Anger, which basically I thought was a nice tone for the song. And everybody goes back to the town, and Eugene reveals that he didn't we give away Abraham's hiding spot to have him killed. He did it to give them a moment and have them let their guard down so they could strike. And Abraham apologizes for not believing Eugene's skills, and he tells him that you just made it to stage 2. And Eugene says, well, he welcomes to it. And Eugene says, I don't need to be welcome. I was already there. I like this a lot. I thought this was a great utilization of Eugene, and he came off very likable in this episode. He's always been kind of likable anyways, but he came off like he's actually trying to survive in this world. And then Abraham goes to Sasha, and he basically tells Sasha that they could now live together for 30 years in this town, and it would still be too short. And he says that that the choice is Sasha's, and Sasha tells him to come inside, which basically means now they're together. And Carol and Dale bury Denise, and Dale was a little bit upset about this. He even buries the Dennis keychain. And then we found out that Carol wrote this letter to Tobin, revealing that she's leaving Alexandria. She said that she can't put her... she was kicked out of the group before, but she came back because there were people worth giving a crap about, but she doesn't want to deal with this anymore because there's just going to be a new threat, and that's going to kill off new people, and she just doesn't want to be a part of that anymore. That was pretty much the gist of the note, and then the episode ends with Carol's cross being on the table with a cigarette ashtray on the table, and that was supposed to be symbolic because typically she goes out and smokes cigarettes every day. And yeah, overall, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this episode. I thought the ending did kind of come off very flat. It was just kind of eh. Carol leaving the town really wasn't all that excited, I should say. But the episode itself I thought was good. If I had to rate it, I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. I thought that was good. What I didn't like about this episode was it just kind of is that it was filler. And obviously it's just basically you didn't really need to see past. You basically didn't need to watch maybe the first 30. You didn't really need to watch the first 30 minutes of this episode. I was trying to do the math in my head. You didn't really need to see the first half hour. You really could have just watched the last 15 minutes and you would have been fine. Obviously, this is kind of leading to some bigger stuff. So that's why I'm okay with them having a filler episode, because they got 2 more of these to do. And now I'm going to go watch these 2 more episodes. But yeah, I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10. And yeah, I'm not going to do any plugs because I'm going to come right back and make another 2 of these reviews. So that's pretty much it, guys. See you when I get back.